Yo, what's good, YouTube? I'm gonna be going over the Jurassic Park cards, just the ones that are in the Ixalan set boosters. I think it's the set boosters, whatever, but I'm just gonna go over them, talk about how strong they are. Starting off, don't move. So it's 3 white white. Destroy all tapped creatures until your next turn. Whenever a creature becomes tapped, destroy it. So, board wipe wise, it's not bad. I think it's overcosted. Theoretically, you cast this on your turn before you would. It's like, I guess technically you can keep your board from getting wiped. So I think it's a really big problem of unless you can goad your opponent's creatures, it's not going to be doing enough. Um I don't think I would recommend this one. I don't think it does enough to be worth it. It could be a one-sided board wipe, but what are the chances that all of your opponents are completely swung out? I mean, like most of the time people don't just swing. Like they'll swing with one or two creatures unless they're trying to win the game. And at that point you've already lost. So yeesh, yeah, no, not it. Cresting Monstrosaur though. 8 mana, 4/8, emerge. You can cast the spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the emerge cost reduced by that creature's mana value. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return each non-dinosaur creature to its owner's hand. So, definitely gonna have a place in Dinosaur Tribal, Typal, whatever. And then, this may seem odd. I don't think it's going to be a blue deck staple. However, being able to bounce everything else to your opponent's hands is actually pretty powerful, especially if that's what your deck wants to do. Like it's almost a blue board wipe. You have oh crap, what's that? Either either Gale returns 6 non-land permanents. Either Spouts, no, that's not to hand, but like you see what I'm saying? Like it's somewhat similar mana cost, especially if you're emerging, which you probably should be. I think it's actually pretty good. Spitting Dilophosaur, 2 and a black, 3/2. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Creatures your opponents control with -1/-1 counters on them can't block. I think this is actually really strong. Being able to choose. Sometimes you want to swing in at your opponent, and it doesn't just say can't block spitting Dilophosaurus. It's can't block. So they can't block anything. This is of course going to go in -1/-1 counters decks, but oh, I'm going to swing out with my creatures, but oh no, this opponent has a 10/10. Well, the 10/10 can't block, so it's not my problem now, is actually pretty strong, especially because you can just have it enter. Even if it doesn't attack that turn, you can have it enter to turn off one creature, which is not bad. Hunting Velociraptors, it's a 3 mana, 2 in a red, 3/2, first strike. Dinosaur spells you cast have Prow. So you may cast a spell for its Prow cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with a creature with any of its creature types. So 2 in a red. So this is actually extremely strong. As long as you've dealt damage to an opponent with a dinosaur, you can cast your dinosaurs for 3. This is extremely powerful. There's so many high mana value dinosaurs. There's payoffs. We just got the new Dreadnought. It's Seismic Dreadmaw, which is a 6/6 for 6, where you draw a card for each dinosaur you control. Well, now that is a 3 mana 6/6 draw for each dinosaur. Like, this is gonna help you grow your board really fast. I'm definitely a dinosaur deck staple. It's extremely strong. And $50 fucking dollars. Wow, that's crazy. Welcome to ... So, for each opponent, up to one non-creature artifact they control becomes a 0/4 wall with Defender for as long as you control this saga. Um, I guess turning like a I don't really in all know where this is going to be useful. Then you create a 3/3 dinosaur with trample. It gains haste until end of turn. Destroy all walls. Okay, that's where it gets good. Being able to destroy 3 artifacts for 3 mana is pretty good. However, you're going to have to wait the turns, which isn't as good. Exile it transformed. So each dinosaur in your graveyard has escape. Escape cost is equal to its mana cost plus exile 3 other cards. And then it's a Gaia's Cradle for dinosaurs. So definitely a dinosaur tribal staple, I would say. You also have, I think, some of Huatley's stuff. Huatley's one Raptor has Proliferate, so you could proliferate counters on here. Definitely want to get to the back. That's very strong, and being able to escape your dinosaurs too. Um, yeah, that's really good. Savaged Order. So, as an addition to casting a spell, it costs 4 mana. Sacrifice a creature with power 4 or greater. Search your library for a dinosaur creature, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. It gains indestructible to your next turn. So, as for all of these, definitely a dinosaur dex staple. The fact it has indestructible till your next turn is very strong. I'm trying to think, dinosaur-wise, what are some... So, of course, you do have, like, Galta cheating out something big. Um, there is definitely, like, there's a lot of big things to cheat out. I think Itali might not be a bad choice, just so you can get that ETB ability. Overall, very strong. Yeah. Moving on to Life Finds a Way. So whenever a non-token creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you populate. So you create another token. So I guess there's definitely some sort of way to go infinite with this. I can't think of it right now, but there's definitely some sort of way of maybe creating a token that, like, you cast Irenicus's Vile Plan or whatever that creates a copy of a creature you control, except it has flying and isn't legendary. And then you cast that on something that flickers when it enters the battlefield. So you'll have that token. And then, I guess, a 4/4 enters. You create a token of that token that can flicker. So the 4/4 will enter infinite times, populate infinite times. I think that's how you'd go infinite with it. But either way, very strong for tokens decks. Moving on. I'm just gonna real quick look at the lands. They look fine. I guess they're cool if you have a dinosaur. Well, actually, that one's pretty sick. Um, but other than that, nothing special. The command tower is fine. Dino DNA. So you exile a creature card from a graveyard, and then you can pay 6 to create a token. That's a copy of the creature card exiled with Dino DNA, except it's also a 6/6 green dinosaur creature with trample. So if you have creatures that add mana, real quick thinking about it, so like untap 7. I think it's on the reserve list. Untap up to 7. Yeah, Great Whale. So when it enters the battlefield, untap up to 7 lands. So you could have this be the card you exile. Pay 6, create a token. There's also... Do you do the same thing? Poundcron does the same thing. So, you pay 1, you exile one of those. You pay 6, create 1, untap the 6 lands, and then just repeat it, since you don't have to tap Dino DNA when you activate that. And if you tap a 7th land, that's also infinite mana, I guess. So definitely a very strong option. Just very specific. I don't think it'll like go anywhere, but um moving on. It's really hard because some of these are like doubles. I don't want doubles. I just wanna um Ellie and Allen, paleontologists, 2 green, white, blue, 2/5. Whenever sorry. Uh Tap, exile a creature card from your graveyard, discover X where X is its mana value. Activate only as a sorcery. So discover is more or less just cascade. Um which is very strong. So it's got blue, you're gonna mill yourself. It's got green, you're gonna mill yourself down um, until you find something big, and then discover. Maybe you do something to untap. Hmm, like find a way to untap Ellie and Allen to do it multiple times a turn, but I'm not really sure. Definitely could win the game with like Thassa's or something. Um, I haven't thought too far into that one. Ravenous Tyrannosaurus, 4 red green devour. So sacrifice any number of creatures, enters with 3+1/+1 counters for each creature sacrificed. Whenever it attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature. Excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. Okay, so I think this is extremely strong in the right deck. So if you have like tokens to sacrifice, saplings, goblins, whatever, it's going to excel. It's going to remove something so that you don't have to worry about being blocked by it. The only downside is it doesn't have trample. Devour really gets better when the creature also has trample, but there's ways to do that. So definitely pretty good. Not really like a dinosaur specific creature, but it could go in something like Corvold, I guess. Not is it Corvold? God, I'm trying to remember. He's the Jun dragon, not from Jun, but from the place that just went sleepy by. Um, not Ixalan. Eldraine. He's the Eldraine dragon. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, you put a +1/+1 counter on him and draw a card, I think. Let me check on that real quick. Oh, yeah. Corvold. Yeah, this one. So yeah, it would definitely go in something like Corvold because it will let you sacrifice a whole bunch of stuff. I think it's pretty strong. Indoraptor, the perfect hybrid. 1 black-green hybrid red. It's a 3/1. Bloodthirst X. So enters with X +1/+1 counters, where X is the damage to your opponents you've dealt this turn. Menace, and when it's dealt damage, choose an opponent at random. It deals damage equal to its power to that player unless they sacrifice a non-token creature. I kind of want to say this is underpowered. Like, Bloodthirst can let it get big. However, I just don't think it does enough. And your opponent can just choose to sacrifice a creature instead. So, oh, wow, I got it so big, it's going to deal 20 damage. Never mind, they just sacrifice Llanowar Elves. I don't think it does enough. Indominus Rex Alpha. 1 blue-black hybrid, green-green. It's a 6/6. Enters, discard any number of creature cards. It enters with a flying counter on it if a card discarded this way had flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Hexproof, Haste, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, and Trample. Oh, and Vigilance. And when it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each counter on it. So, this is an interesting card because this can really help you cycle through your deck. Like, you can go through your deck super fast. Then, of course, you've got this is definitely a Thassa's Oracle win con sort of deck. It's got great colors. Yeah, overall, it's a really good card. And then just being able to draw for each counter on it, especially if you have extra ways to give it counters, like Renata called to the hunt, I believe. Each creature you control enters with a +1/+1 counter, so that's just an extra draw off of it. Either way, it seems extremely strong. can't forget something like the Ozolith, so when it dies... Let me make sure I read this correctly. Ozo. Okay. So, yeah, so when it'll die, you'll be able to put those counters on the Ozolith, and then spread them around your creatures, so that's going to be pretty good. Blue Loyal Raptor, 2 green blue, partner with Owen Grady Raptor Trainer. For each kind of counter on blue, each other dinosaur you control enters the battlefield with a counter of that kind on it. And then Owen Grady, so partner with blue. It's a 1 red green 3/2. Put your choice of menace, trample, reach, or haste counter on target dinosaur. So it's a cool pairing. The colors are red, green, blue together, so teamer, I guess. It's definitely not bad. I really feel like it doesn't do as much as it... Well, okay, Menace is actually kind of big now that I'm thinking about it. Menace and Trample on dinosaurs can be pretty big. It's just your deck needs to have that value engine to get out those dinosaurs. It's not really helping you with value. It's not drawing you cards. It's going to help you win, but other than that, I don't really know what else it's doing in a weird way. Permission denied. White, blue, counter target non-creature spell. Your opponent can't cast non-creature spells this turn. I see this as a decent counterspell option. It's like, I guess that's the same price as Dovin's Veto, which is just a counter target non-creature spell. This spell can't be countered. So this spell can be countered, which is a problem. However, I don't know, because most of the time we're in a format with Force of Will, Force of Negation, not Deflecting Swat, the other one, Fierce Guardianship? But free counter spells, and this really just doesn't feel like it gives you enough value, I guess. I mean, it's also a silence, which is good. I don't know. Tell me about this one in the comments. Tell me how you're feeling, because I'm having trouble making up my mind. Compy Swarm. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, create a tap token that's a copy of Compy Swarm. They're kind of cute. That's about all I gotta say. Like, it's... So, a creature has to die, which is fine. That's 100% doable. It feels like it multiplies... Like, look at Scute Swarm. Scute Swarm is a 1/1 when you create... Or when a land enters the battlefield. And they're the same price, too. When the land enters the battlefield, you create another 1/1. Or, if you have 6 or more lands, you create a copy of itself. So, that's... Let's just say you have 6 lands to start, because why not? That starts as a 1/1, then becomes 2 1/1s, becomes 4, 8, and then you can play multiple lands per turn. This is a once per turn thing. For a single 2/2 that's tapped, it can't block, so it's not even going to help you there. I mean, they're cute. I guess maybe this kind of goes with, like, I kind of thought maybe it would go with blue because it'll get other counters from blue and maybe be a bit stronger. But no, it's not even in the color pairing for that. So I don't think this does enough to be worth it. Grim Gigantosaurus. 5 black green. Monstrosity 10 for 10 black green. Costs 1 less for each creature with power 4 or greater your opponent's control, which is kind of a problem because you can't control your opponent's boards. However, it's already a 7-mana 10/10 that you can pay to have become a 20/20. When it becomes monstrous, destroy all artifacts and creatures other than itself. Now, that seems good. However, you're destroying your own board, and you're going to have to pay so much. It just really isn't worth it, especially because in the meantime, it doesn't even have trample. It doesn't have trample. It doesn't have menace. It doesn't have flying. It has no way to get in because your opponents can just chump block it. Even when it becomes monstrous, they can just chump block it. You can't really control how cheap its ability is going to get. And in general, you don't want your opponents having big creatures. So, sure, it'll destroy them, but like, I just don't entirely understand what deck this is supposed to go in. Definitely not a pickup on my list. Ian Malcolm, Chaotician. 1 blue-red. Whenever a player draws their second card each turn, that player exiles the top card of their library. During each player's turn, that player may cast a spell from among the cards they don't own, exiled with Ian Malcolm, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. So, okay. You can make your opponent draw their second card, which is fine. However, I feel like giving each opponent, an extra 4... We're just saying that after one turn cycle, there's 4 cards in exile. That's 4 extra options on their turn. Every player is playing removal. I think this is going to hurt you more than it helps you. I think this is definitely a fun commander. If you want to have fun, this looks like a lot of fun. Everybody wants to draw. Everybody wants to cast each other's spells. There's probably ways to benefit from casting other players' spells. However, it's like, he's not in black, so you don't get Tasha to be a payoff. He's in red, so you get some stuff from casting from exile, but it really just doesn't feel like it does enough. Swooping Pterodon, whatever. Flying Haste, 5 mana, 3/3. Whenever Swooping Pterodon or another dinosaur with flying enters the battlefield under your control, gain control of target creature an opponent controls until end of turn. It gains flying and haste until end of turn. At the beginning of the next end step, target land deals 3 damage to that creature. So, it's very goofy, right? I guess because, they drop them, so the land killed them, whatever. However, okay, so it's not in blue's color, so blue can't give it counters. It can't give other creatures flying counters, so that doesn't work. And then if we look into flying dinosaur, there is a total of 7 flying dinosaurs. Sorry, Magmasaur doesn't even have flying. Indominus Rex isn't guaranteed flying. Either has a flying or hexproof counter. So it's really 4, including itself. I mean, dinosaurs on a spaceship doesn't even work either, because that's... So, okay. Technically, you could suspend dinosaurs on a spaceship. Each turn, you'll create a flying haste dinosaur. But it just really doesn't feel like there's enough there for it to be worthwhile in any sort of deck. Definitely not high on my recommendations. So, Henry Wu in Geneticist. Black, green, blue, 1/4. When he or another human creature you control. So, sorry. Henry Wu in Geneticist. Another human creatures you control have exploit, so they can sacrifice a creature when they enter the battlefield. Whenever a creature you control exploits a non-human creature, draw a card. If the exploited creature had power 3 or greater, create a treasure token. So, I guess, technically, it's really complicated, because you could theoretically do 1-drops, I guess, and you play a human to sacrifice a non-human, to play a human to sacrifice a because you can't, it just, yeah, it feels like there should be something there, but it just doesn't do enough. And that's my recap. The Jurassic World cards. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe.